Hello, my yarny friends. I'm Sara Sach. Welcome or welcome back to Friday Fun Day. And we've got a scary video for you today. Not really. It's not scary at all. These are fun little silly ghosts that you can make with a hanger if you want to, so you can hang them up. They measure about 6 inches. And just by changing the eyes, you can see you get all kinds of different looks. I love them. They turned out just beautiful. And the yarn I used was the Parfait Pom yarn in the white glow or Let's Glow color. And I'll tell you more about that. If you want to find this particular yarn, I have my Premier yarn link down underneath this video. You can just click on that, put in Premier Pom, you'll find it. Super cute, and it's soft and squishy, and they are stuffed. We stuffed them with just a little bit of yarn. And I do talk to you a little bit about the safety of safety eyes and what to do if you're going to give this to a small child. Because I do recommend, if you're going to have this around a dog or small children, not to use safety eyes, but to maybe use a French knot instead. But we'll talk more about yarns and eyes later on. Now this, like I said, is our silly little ghost crochet pattern. A fun little project for Halloween. You can make it with the tie so you can hang them up so they can move like ghosts are supposed to. Or you can just use them for decorations. Maybe put them in a coffee cup for a nice holiday gift. These are just so much fun. They crack me up. So, you can find the complete pattern with pictures, as always, on my blog, and I'll put that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. All right, let's talk about what we need to make our silly little ghosts. Can't help it, he's super cute. Now, the yarn that I chose to use is called Premier Parfait Chunky. The color is called Let's Glow. And it almost does. It does not have glow-in-the-dark abilities, but it looks like it kind of does. And it has all these fun little pom-poms of different colors through the yarn. It's so pretty. And I had this left over from another project, and I thought, oh, that's perfect for making Halloween little ghosts to decorate with. All right, so you don't need very much, maybe an ounce, depending on how tightly that you stitch. But you can use any super bulky number 6 yarn to make this. If you have some leftover blanket yarns or other thick yarns, or you can hold 2 strands of a medium weight number 4 white yarn together, or whatever color you want to make your ghosts. All right, then you're just going to need a small amount of another color. I use this chunky pink one because we're going to cinch the neck. We're going to make a smile with the pink. And then if you want to make a hanger for it, so you can hang it up to decorate. All right, but I'm going to be using this green for mine instead of where I have the pink. And so you just need a small amount. It doesn't take much, 2 yards, 3 yards, something like that. All right, now, the next thing we need to talk about is eyes. Now, I attached some safety eyes. These actually look like cat eyes to me. And I thought that I'd let you know, I ran by Hobby Lobby and checked out all their eyes. They have a great selection of wiggly eyes. These are blue. And here's some more cat eyes. Now, these are the bigger size. The ones that I used here are smaller. Okay, so these are 15 millimeter. I think these are 12 that I have on there. But I just wanted to show you, for $2.29, you get all these eyes. Let's see, there's 12 pieces. So 12 eyes in each pack, and the smaller eyes as well. Another thing that you can use is these adhesive eyes. These are like what we used on our candy coasters. And you can use those. These have wiggly eyes. These were also bought, no, these were bought at Walmart. Okay, and they're adhesive, they stick on. Okay, if you're going to give this to a small child, I do not recommend that you use safety eyes or sticky eyes, because those can be easily chewed on and pulled out and swallowed and become a choking hazard. So what I recommend, if you're going to make this for a small child that you think might chew on it, I would just use a French knot for the eyes. All right. But none of my grandkids are small enough where that's an issue, so I'm not going to be doing that today. But I do recommend that because, again, we don't want them to be a choking hazard if they play with it. I'm actually going to use these little tiny black ones today, because I want to kind of make a silly one today. I'm not into scary ones, but you can make them scary. I like them to be silly. So you're going to need 2 eyes. And it's up to you which thing you use to make those eyes. So we're going to use those. Now, I also added some beads, just some bright colored beads, because I wanted it to go with the speckles that's in this yarn. And I went with purple, kind of an orangey pink, and a nice bright orange. For today's demonstration, I'm just going to use purple and green, just to make it a little bit different. All right? Then you're also going to need just a small amount of stuffing, just a handful. And I'm using just regular polyester fiber fill stuffing. All right, now we're going to be stitching today with our J-hook, which is a 6mm. And I know we don't normally use a J-hook or 6mm for a super bulky yarn. But since we're stuffing our little ghost, we don't want any of the stuffing to show through. So we want our stitches to be nice and tight. All right. And then you'll notice I have 2 needles out here. Now the bigger needle I'll use to weave in my ends, but I've got my smaller needle because I don't know. Let's see. Actually, I could get my needle through my bead. So I probably just need the 1 needle. But make sure and check whatever beads you use, because you can use whatever beads that you want to. And you might use the smaller pony beads or some other beads that you have on hand. Just make sure you can thread your yarn on and get your needle through those beads. Okay? All right. Now the last thing we need is a pair of scissors. All right. Let's get started. Now you'll notice I've got my mat out here because I am working with white yarn. I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. But you'll notice I have another piece of yarn out here, just a small piece. I don't even think it's 12 inches. It might be. And I'm going to be using that piece of yarn instead of a stitch marker. When I'm working with a fuzzy yarn like this, and I'm going to be working in the rounds on this, I like to use a piece of yarn instead of a stitch marker because I think it's just a little bit easier than trying to get the stitch marker in and out the fuzzy yarns. And I'll show you that as we go along, okay? So I'm just going to set that there for now. And we're going to begin with our fuzzy, super bulky Parfait Pom yarn. All right, so I'm going to leave myself a little bit of a tail. Make my beginning knot, and then we're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, so we're going to make our circle. I'm making a little stay knot here. And if you have another way you prefer to make your beginning circle, go for it. All right, so we've made our circle. We're going to go in, pull up a loop, and chain 1. And we're going to stitch 6 single crochets around our circle. You'll also notice that I'm going to stitch over my tail of yarn. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right, now I'm not going to join. I'm just going to pull that, gently pull that string so it closes up that hole, and then we'll come back and finish that later. All right. So for round 1, we have 6 single crochets. Now we're not going to join because we're going to begin by stitching in the round. Now before I start row 2, I'm going to take that piece of yarn, or if you prefer a stitch marker, and I'm just going to pull this through. All right, and so now what I can do after each row is I can just pull that yarn up and not have to pull it out, okay? All right, so move that tail of yarn out of the way. We're going to go right to our first single crochet and stitch 2 single crochets. Let me tighten that loop a little. There we go. So 1, 2, then we'll stitch 2 in each. So 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's get some more yarn. 7, 8, 9, 10, and that brings us to our last one. We're going to leave that yarn in there, but don't stitch over it, just push it over. 11 and 12. Okay, and so now all we have to do is just go in that last stitch, grab that piece of yarn we're using for our stitch marker, and we've marked our stitch, and we didn't have to pull it out. And again, you can use a stitch marker if you prefer. And this is how row 2 should look. We have 6 single crochets on row 1 and 12 single crochets on row 2. Now we're ready for round 3. We're going to be stitching 1 and 2. 1 single crochet in the next, 2 in the next. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and that brings us to our last stitch, 17 and 18. All right, so now we'll just put our hook in that last stitch and pull that piece of yarn up. I have completed round 3, and on round 3 we have 18 single crochets. For round 4, we're just going to stitch 1 single crochet in each of those 18 stitches. So we'll go right to that first single crochet and stitch 1 single crochet in each of the single crochets around. And as we do this one, since we're not increasing, you'll notice that the shape of our little ghost head is going to start taking shape. All right, so 1 single crochet in each of those 18 single crochets around. I'm almost there. One more stitch. Here's my stitch marker, and we'll just grab that and move it forward to mark our stitch. All right, now what we're going to do now is we're just going to repeat what we did on round 4, and we're going to repeat this for 6 more rows. 1 single crochet in each of our single crochets around for 6 more rows. Now I stitched those additional 6 rows, and something that I do and why I like to use a piece of yarn opposed to a stitch marker is I can leave the end of the tail here and mark the other end as I go, and then I know 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and this is that additional row here where not additional row, but the row where I started marking. So I know that I've stitched 6 rows. And then I'll just pull that tail out and I marked up here. Now at this point you're going to want to put your safety eyes in if you're going to use safety eyes. And I've already put one in because I'm using the little black ones. And so you're going to count down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the spacing is totally up to you. And you can see I put these ones pretty close together, and I think I'm going to do the same on this one. And what you want to try to do is to go in those fibers of the yarn in the stitch itself and not between the yarns, and that will help it stay, or not between the stitches, and that'll help that safety eye stay in there. All right, so you go through some of the fibers of the yarn, some of the loops of the stitches, and just until you hear it snap. And now I've got a pair of safety eyes on my ghost, and I really like those as well. And like I said, this is only if you're using the safety eyes. The other ones you can attach afterwards, or if you're adding French knots, you can do that afterwards. All right, so now we want to increase the bottom of our ghost out a little bit. And so for row 11, we're going to stitch 2 single crochets in the next stitch, 1 and 2, and then 1 single crochet in the next 2, 3 and 4. So we're doing 2 and 2. 2 in the next, 1, 2, and 1 single crochet in the next 2, 1 and 2, 1, 2, and 1 in the next 2, 1 and 2, and we'll just repeat this all the way around, stitching 2 and 2, 2 in the next, 1 in the next 2. So we stitch 2 and 2 all the way around, and for row 11 we have 24 single crochets. And now we're going to repeat what we just did because we want to increase again. All right, and so we'll do that again. We'll stitch 2 single crochets in the next stitch and 1 single crochet in the next 2, 1 and 2, 2 in the next, 1 and 2, and 1 in the next 2, 2 and 2. All right, so we're increasing again, and then we'll have 30 single crochets on this row. So 1, 2, 1 in the next 2, and 2 in the next, 1 and 2. So I have completed this row, row 12, and so now what we're going to do for row 13 is we're just going to stitch 1 single crochet in each of those stitches around. One single crochet in each of the stitches, working all the way around our ghost. Now we're ready to stuff our ghost. So I've got a little bit of stuffing. I like to do it in 2 bits. I like to get it like a nice round piece and stick it up in the head because we are going to cinch it in. All right, and then we'll get a little bit more and put it right in here. Now I want the head stuffed a little more than the body, but you don't want it to be too stuffed. You just want it to have just a little bit of course it's up to you, but I just wanted to have just a little bit of stuffing in there. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to close the bottom. All right, so what we're going to do is we want to lay it flat, but our stitches are way over here. So I'm going to take out my stitch marker. I'm going to slip stitch just over to the side. There we go. All right, I think I need a couple more. I should have counted. All right. So now I'm to the side, and we're going to close the bottom of our ghost. Let me do a chain 1 just to get up here so you can see. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go through both of those stitches and stitch a single crochet. And then we'll single crochet in each of those stitches across, and that's where I added those slip stitches. So it's going to be a little bit difficult, but we can do it. And you want to have 14 stitches across. You want to have 14 stitches across here. All right, and then we're going to chain 1 and turn and do our last row of shell stitches. All right, let's do that last row of shell stitches. So we're going to chain 1 and turn our work, and in this first single crochet we're going to single crochet, skip the next, and stitch our shell stitch in the next. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 double crochets. We're going to skip 1 stitch and single crochet in the next. Now this next time we're going to skip 2 stitches and stitch our shell stitch in the next. 1, 2, 3, 4 double crochets. We're going to skip the next 2 and single crochet in the next. Now we're just going to stitch 1 and stitch our shell stitch in the next. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we'll skip that next stitch and single crochet in that last stitch. All right, so now we're done with this portion of our ghost. We'll cut that off. Whoops. There we go. Tie that off. We'll grab our needle and weave this in. And then we'll finish it up. All right, now there's our ghost, and it's kind of cute like that, but I want to cinch in the neck. I think it gives it a little bit more character. To cinch in the neck, you just put a piece of yarn that you like, and it's up to you where you put it as far as how big a head you want. All right, so I just sort of do it like this, a couple rows down, so we don't have room to put a mouth on there. I'm just cinch it in. And I tie a knot because I want that to stay put. Alrighty, bring this back around here. And then we'll just tie a little bow. And I always do what I call a bow knot. I don't think it has a technical term, but I don't want the bow to come undone, so I'll just do another little loop with the bows. And then trim it off. So now my little ghost has a cute little bow. And I decided that I'm going to do the little mouth a little bit similar to this one. It's just a little V-stitch smile, but I'm going to do it with the green. So let me grab my needle. And the mouth is really super simple. It's just a little V. And so we'll come down below the eye. And I leave this out because I'm going to weave that in a minute, but I want to make sure I don't pull it too tightly. And then I'll come across here. And I'm going to go back over that because I'm using a thinner yarn and I don't want it to get lost in the stitches. So I'm just going to make another stitch over it. There we go. And then I'll just go to the back of the head. Make sure I didn't pull it too tightly. There we go. And then I'll weave this end back on and just go to the back of the head also. And I pulled it through that stuffing, so I'm going to make a little knot on the end. Cut it, and then just take my crochet hook and kind of stick it back in there. And I'll do the same on this one. And that little knot just helps it not go back through the stuffing. There are lots of ways of doing that, but we want to hide it inside. All right, so now I have a little green smile, which I think is adorable. And it's really cute like this. You could set them around in baskets and things. But I want to give it a hanger so I can hang it up so it can move like a ghost moves. So to make the hanger, I'm going to use a piece of this green yarn, since this is a color that I'm using. I'm going to go in the top of my ghost. Go grab a loop and pull it through. So now it's on there. It's kind of like how you put on, you know, a piece of fringe. All right, and now we're going to divide these. And on each side, you can put it together. You don't have to divide it. I just think it's kind of fun. I'm going to put 2 purples and a green. I think I'll do it the other way. There we go. And then on the other side, I'll do the same thing. Now you can use whatever color beads you want or whatever kind of beads that you want. It's just little accent beads, and I love pony beads. They're fun. All right, so now you can do them with 2, or you could put them all together with just 1. I just kind of think that looks cute. And then we'll just make a little knot because we want them to stay down. We don't want them to slide up. That's so cute. All right, and then we'll just tie another knot a little ways up, a couple inches, depending on how long you want them to hang. All right, and then we'll just cut that. And now my ghost has a little hanger, so I can hang it up for a fun decoration.